So Kick-Ass Confidence Quickies are short and simple videos, but rooted in scientific evidence that will give you some strategies to boost and sustain confidence. So here we go, because the more you know about your brain and how it impacts your body and your behavior, the more that you can build mental strength and subsequently your confidence. So I want to talk about kind of a quantitative way of looking at confidence and subsequently how to define it in terms of its opposite. All right, so I'm going to share this really very simple slide with you, and let's get that up on the screen. And the confidence bell curve, if you will, is like any other bell curve. So when we look at mapping confidence, in whether you're talking about confidence in the market or consumer spending, economists will put it on this bell curve. And a bell curve, for those of you who may have taken statistics way back when, dust off some of the cobwebs, the middle part, this orange part of the curve, basically defines what's normal, what the majority of people or things fall into, so we consider that to be acceptable range, right? It's the red and the yellow on the outsides that we call the standard deviation, or the outliers, as Mr. Gladwell will write books about, that basically says those are kind of outside the norm. That's not really where we want to operate unless we want to be an outlier, different story. But the orange place really is our comfort zone. So when we talk about confidence of ourselves, and for those of you who know me, I don't like the word self-confidence, because confident people actually really do know and are mindful about not just their own self, but their impact on others. So therefore, I don't think self-confidence is, I think it's an oxymoron of sorts, but let's use it for today. Self-confidence. I'm going to map it on this chart so that we can look at, on the y-axis, the number of times you act or react to something. So, you know, as you're having conversations or you do things in work, at home, with your kids, with whoever. And on the x-axis, really the amount of self-awareness that you have, that you know what you value, you know how you want to be perceived, you know how you want to behave, right? So the more self-awareness you have. Now, again, in that orange zone, if you're basically acting in accordance to your values and you're certain that you're doing okay, you know, basically setting that boundary based on your values, you feel confident. You say, you know what, I handled that well, I feel good about it, I like what I did, I achieved what I set out to, and so forth. So you have self-confidence. On the far right side, or actually the left side, I guess, depending on how you're looking at this, the red side, the little bit of awareness that you have, if you don't have a lot, you kind of are operating a little ignorantly. You don't really know who you are. You don't know your impact on other people. You don't know how other people respond or should respond. So subsequently, when you do something and you go, oh, that was dumb, I should have known better, or I didn't do what I expect, or didn't happen what I expected, or maybe it's just I wish I had known, you actually wind up regretting the decision, or regretting your action, okay? Not the end of the world. Hopefully, if you're growth-minded, you learn from that. You say, okay, I'm not going to do that again. I could have had a V8. Next time I will. And subsequently, it's the yellow part that gets us into more trouble. And this is where we actually have lots of self-awareness. We know who we are. We know what's important. But we don't act in accordance. So we may do something that really compromises our values. For example, if you really value your children and your family, and you decide you're going to work late instead of going to a concert, yeah, you're compromising your values. Maybe you value your friends, and instead of doing something with your friends, or maybe not staying in touch with your friends, you don't. So again, you feel regretful, but in some ways, maybe even more so, because you know that it's important and you're acting against your values. So I say that you actually have shame. So regret and shame often get kind of tossed and intermingled, but here I'm using them very differently, very deliberately, where regret, I'm saying, really is something that you're like, next time I'm going to do better. I learned from that. I should have known. I wish I had known. Versus when you almost deliberately compromise your values and you say, I'm really ashamed of myself because I shouldn't have done that. So hopefully for you analytical types, this really helps you kind of put confidence in maybe a mathematical perspective. And I think what's really interesting is when we talk about the opposite of confidence, it's not insecurity. It's not. In fact, the opposite of confidence, I believe, is guilt. It's feeling guilty. So think about it this way. I can't do a cartwheel anymore. I really feel insecure about my cartwheel abilities, but it doesn't impact my confidence because I'm pretty confident I can't do it. All right, it's a brain bender, I know, but the reality is this: confidence ebbs and flows. You're not going to be confident in all things, but it's when you act in accordance to your values and you don't regret or feel shameful for your decisions based on your values is when you feel most confident. I hope this quickie was really, really powerful for you. If you like what you heard and you'd like to learn more about how confidence works in your brain, how it affects other people's behaviors and their brains, check us out on kickass-confidence.com. For groups, whether you're in a company, a nonprofit, association, conference, etc., you want to bring some of this wisdom, this neuro wisdom to those folks. We do workshops, we do keynotes. If you're an individual and your company or organization doesn't necessarily do that kind of professional development for whatever reason, you want to do it on your own, check out one of our career acceleration programs. If they're peer-based, I lead them through the internet, so you join us virtually from the comfort of your own home in the evenings. Really, really powerful programs. You learn a ton about how to manage your confidence, and you end up with a concrete career game plan. Employers will even pay for those. So needless to say, check us out. Hope to hear from you. Quickie for today. Go kick some ass.